Hey guys, welcome back to another week, another show. I didn't really think of how to start this. Anyway, let's just jump into the news. Let's start off today with some more discouraging news coming out of Poland. It seems many European nations have been having a turbulent time in the past month or so, and Poland is a part of this list, unfortunately. At the end of January, there were massive protests against a near total abortion ban bill that was signed into law. Now, on Wednesday 10th of February, the private media companies went silent for 24 hours in a unified protest against a planned tax law that would increase their costs of operations by about 220 million euros. The private media is accusing the government of trying to decrease media pluralism in Poland, while the government has stated that too much of Polish media is foreign owned. As described by these media companies, such drastic action is necessary because without free media there is no free choice, and without free choice there is no freedom. In the past years, Poland has seen a severe deterioration of some of its core democratic principles, such as in 2017, the judicial reform and slow conversion of national media to be less independent, similarly to what is happening or what has happened in Hungary. Moving on to another turbulent country, however, are we finally seeing the end of the saga? As of earlier today, Mario Draghi was sworn in as the Prime Minister of Italy. After weeks on weeks of turbulence in Italian politics, the parliament has shown willingness to work with Draghi on getting Italy out of its hardship. Mario Draghi is a 73-year-old technocrat who is most famously known for serving as the president of the European Central Bank from 2011 to 2019. He has managed to attain the support of all but one political parties in the government. Earlier, he announced his ministers, with some from the old government retaining their positions and some new ones being appointed. His next step, at which the last government fell apart, is the division and distribution of the 200 plus billion euro loan from the European Union. It will be interesting to follow the happenings as you have both left and right-wing parties working together, and both have raised concerns about being able to work with one another. It will be interesting to continue following this in the coming weeks to see if Draghi can truly unify the left and right together to try and manage to get Italy out of its economic recession. Now, moving on from the south back up to the north, well, I guess it's north, south, east, west. Russia. Russia has been an absolute roller coaster ever since the arrest of Alexei Navalny earlier in January. For those unaware, a couple of weeks ago, prominent opposition leader Alexei Navalny returned to Russia after recovering from an attempted assassination attempt that was made on his life by using the Cold War era Russian nerve agent. Upon his arrival, he was arrested, and a Moscow court had sentenced him to jail for breaking his parole agreement. Since then, he has also been on trial for allegedly defaming a World War II veteran, an accusation he says was handcrafted by the Kremlin. In response to all of this, we saw an international outcry, and especially Europeans demanding for him to be released immediately. So on the update around the story, since last week's protests, 3 diplomats from Germany, Poland, and Sweden have been expelled from Russia after those diplomats allegedly participated in these unsanctioned protests. I feel like allegedly is about to become synonymous with these Russia updates. Anyway, Germany, Poland, and Sweden have responded in kind and expelled a Russian diplomat from each of these countries. Since then, the EU has been thinking whether or not to apply more political pressure on Russia with new sanctions. This has generated a threat-like response from Russia when the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov announced that they were ready to cut ties with the EU if these sanctions would target sensitive sectors or further cripple the economy. And it has been pretty much like this for the past weeks, with European and Russian politicians exchanging strong words without anything happening. So let's see if these strong words actually materialize into either Russia cutting ties with the EU or the EU implementing sanctions or something else in between. Moving on to the final story of today, let's look at our favorite, definitely not committing genocide country, China. After the deportation of 3 Chinese spies from the UK and the termination of the TV channel CGTV's license, China had responded by shutting off BBC World News in the country in an apparent response. The interesting detail here being that CGTV could see itself being shut off in most of Europe now because of a 1989 agreement called Transfrontier Television, which has most of continental Europe signed onto it. Under this agreement, a shared license in one country means that it can be distributed in virtually every country that has signed onto the agreement. It is of course a bit more complicated than this. However, when Ofcom, the British Office of Communications, revoked the license, those who were using it in other European countries, such as Vodafone in Germany, they lost access to the channel. If no other country has a shared license, then this could mean that until a new license is given to some other European country, all access to CGTV is lost across Europe. Meanwhile, let's turn our attention to Eastern Europe, where there is an initiative called 17+1 and updates around that. For those unaware, the 17+1 initiative is an investment push by China in Eastern Europe to gain influence with those nations. At the beginning of the week, there was a summit that happened where it was meant to have 17 of the European leaders, 17+1, and that +1 being Xi Jinping. But 6 nations, the Baltic states, Bulgaria, Romania, and Slovenia, decided not to send neither their president or a prime minister to the summit. This is being seen as a political setback for Xi Jinping's strategy in Europe as China attempts to gain influence in the region, especially after increasing pressures of shelving Chinese 5G networks in favor of European ones across Europe. Speaking of influence, in the final story of this China kind of segment story thing, there have also been calls for an investigation into an event that was held for China-friendly MEPs in late 2019. This event was sponsored by China's mission to the EU. Links have been found of some of these groups trying to push pro-Beijing agendas in Europe and in the European Parliament, and investigations continue into these cases. Honestly, doing this show, you find out these quirks in Europe, like the television frontier, trans-television frontier. God damn it, what is it called? Transfrontier television, that you would have never found out. And hopefully us finding out things like this while we research and then kind of putting it out there so that you can know about this will be helpful for you. But anyway, on that note, we'll finish off this shorter show this week. Hopefully you learned something new, and if you have any suggestions or any comments or anything like that, questions, blah, 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 it doesn't matter. Drop it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe for every week, although I can't promise you every week, but we try every single week, every Saturday, to post a new video. And I hope you guys have a lovely rest of the weekend. As always, stay safe. Goodbye.